All right. So listen, you might be struggling with social media, or you might be just coming to terms with the fact that it isn't going anywhere. Trust me, I feel you. My fellow creative professionals, my service providers, I fought it for a very, very long time. But let's face it, it is here to stay. And it's one of the most effective ways to grow your personal brand and to grow your business in 2023, 2024, and beyond. So, welcome to the Girl Activate podcast, where we drop inspirational gems that help you to awaken the greatness within. The Girl Activate community is also for my girlies that not only want to level up in business, but you guys want to level up in life. I am so excited today. You have no idea. This is a treat for me. I mean, I do this for you guys, but this is a treat for me. Today, I'm going to be chatting it up, or we're going to be chatting it up with my girl, Jenell B Stewart. She is a content creator and entrepreneur, and we've known each other so long. We were just talking about this off camera, that we've known each other so long. I almost forgot that we didn't go to school together, because like we clicked right away. I feel like she's one of my old schoolmates. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to be talking about a topic that needs to be talked about. You know that I'm dropping that course early January 2004, when I want to help my girlies to effectively communicate your personal brand online. And let's face it, we can't communicate our digital identity online if we are struggling with our content. So today, we have Jenell B Stewart. Let me just tell you a little bit about her. I'm going to glance over at my notes here. 13 years ago, Jenell B Stewart started a blog and YouTube channel documenting her natural hair journey. Today, she is just a powerhouse entrepreneur, helping aspiring creators to build their brand and their business on social media and beyond. With over 145,000 YouTube subscribers and more than 300,000 followers on Instagram and TikTok, she's turning all the lessons she's learned building her blog into programs for others, okay? In addition to social media, podcasting, and vlogging, Jenell created courses and communities designed to help aspiring creators achieve the same success. And let me just tell you, I cannot just, I read this over and over. I know her, and I still cannot just glaze over all of these amazing accomplishments. And she's been able to do it so seamlessly. I can't wait to just dive into this conversation. Welcome to the show, Jenell. Thank you so much for making time to speak to my Girl Activate community.
Hey, girlies. It's so exciting to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Stacey. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this chat, because I truly know how difficult it is through my experiences with my clients to get themselves really on social and to talk about themselves, to make sure that people know about their brands, to be consistent, to show up. Girl, I know. So we're going to talk about it today.
Yes, I'm so looking forward to it. And also, girlies, Jenell is no stranger to our community. She has been, I have interviewed her before on a previous podcast. And let me just tell you, a few weeks ago, when I reached out to her, I said, let me do a little bit of, little catching up, a little reconnecting, just to make sure, we're not necessarily talking about the same things. I want to keep it fresh. So I wanted to listen to our past interview to see, what we were discussing. And can I say cringe? It was so cringe, not because it was a terrible interview. It was an awesome interview. We had such a good time on the interview. But when I heard myself and the mindset I had at the time, that was the cringe part, to know that I was so anti social media. I was so anti everything tech needed to advance, in our business. And now fast forward just a few years later, I just had this awakening that, and you even said it on that last podcast, like, if you want to stomp with the big dogs, I mean, I'm just paraphrasing here, like,
Yeah.
want to keep up with the keep up. It's negotiable, but deep down inside, I felt it was negotiable. I was like, I hear you, girl, but I'm different.
Yeah.
It is negotiable. But anyway, let's just jump right into today's call. Can you share a bit about your journey into the world of social media and what inspired you to pursue this career?
Yeah, I actually wanna listen back to that podcast interview so I can kinda hear what some of the things I was saying back then. So please share it with me and share
Okay,
it with the
okay,
girlies too, because I know
okay.
they're probably gonna want us be able to see your growth and mindset. And some of them might be where you were
That's
then,
so
they might be there
true.
now, right? And
That's
then they
so
listen to
true.
that, they listen to this, and then they're like, "Oh God, I need to get it together." So my journey starts just like many of you, especially if you're currently working in, a 9 to 5 or whatever. I was a teacher. And during my teaching years as a Brooklyn public school teacher, I decided that I was going to start a new journey in my own beauty. My own beauty. I went natural. And part of me becoming natural is how I got to meet amazing women like Stacey, because when I made that decision to go natural, I decided that I wanted to share that experience. And you might be able to relate to this. You're doing something new. You feel like others should be doing this too, or at least should know about it. And you're like, why isn't everybody doing this? Why doesn't everybody know this? Why doesn't everybody have this? Right. And that might be that idea that you have brewing inside of you today. And at the time, that's how I felt. When I went natural, this was in 2010. There weren't as many people natural as there are today. And when I did it, I just felt like my experience was one that I could not keep inside. Like I couldn't contain myself. People needed to know about what this was. And because there were a few women already trailblazing the world of YouTube and natural hair. And these women were the ones that I watched to give me the confidence. I said, I want to have a voice in this conversation as well. And because many of these women had already started their natural hair journeys and were telling the story of already having hair that was longer and they had grown and they had maintained and they were using their experiences to educate us, I wanted to be able to have a voice as someone who was doing it from scratch, literally learning and making mistakes along the way. So I decided to start a YouTube channel. I didn't overthink it too much. And if you're an overthinker, I want to encourage you to not overthink it, because if I had done so, I wouldn't have started my YouTube channel when I did. And the time would have passed me, because that wave that had been put into place in 2010 by the women who had started it before me, by myself, and many others who started making content in 2010, 2011, led to the boom of the natural hair movement. It led to a great change in how Black women see themselves today, and that has resulted in so many things for our children, which is the next generation. My daughter's 9. Um, and it started a new career for me. So I basically was teaching. I was doing my YouTube videos. I was feeling super motivated and excited on a regular basis to go home and make my videos, but I was still working. The one thing that I can say is that my motivation and passion was so strong that every moment that I had outside of work, this was all I wanted to do, was make YouTube videos and edit YouTube videos, respond to the comments, and come up with ideas of new things I could do and new products I could try. And then I started hosting events. I started partnering with brands. That's how I got to meet Stacey, with one of the most integral brands in my career, Shea Moisture, at the time. Um, and I would say fast forward about 5 to 6 years, I was maturing. I went from being single to married with children, and things were changing for me. And so I wanted to start doing something new. I still wanted to help women. I still wanted to help my community, but I felt like after so many years of talking about hair, I think that I'm just tired of it, but I think that there's a way that I can continue to help them. And seeing that social media was becoming more accessible to everyone, and people who weren't looking to be specifically YouTubers were now thinking about how they could get the message out on YouTube. And people who weren't necessarily looking to become influencers were starting to think about how they could use social media, not to be a YouTuber or an influencer, but to build a own personal brand or to build a brand around the products that they serve, the services that they offer. And so I said, I'm going to put that education degree to use, and I decided I was going to start selling courses. I was going to start coaching people. And that's how everything got started. I did forget to mention that about 2 to 3 years in, I was able to resign as a teacher and I was able to do this full time. So I've actually been doing this full time as an entrepreneur for over a decade. And I've employed a lot of contractors. I've supported so many people in growing their businesses, in helping them to see their vision. And I've supported many brands in marketing their businesses and helping more people become aware of them. And I've just been really great at building a community. And God has ordered every step that I've made, which has made all of this possible, which is always exciting to see what he has for me next. So that's how it all happened, y'all.
Oh man, you brought up about 3 points that I want to touch on. Number one
Yes.
is that I think the common thread amongst all of us is that as coaches, teachers, natural teachers. I mean, I'm not talking about like how you were
Yeah.
certified
Not
and
with a degree, but just in general.
but just natural teachers, thought leaders, coaches,
Yeah.
we all have this innate desire to want to share what we've learned, to
Yes.
share whatever obstacle we've overcome, whatever challenges we've been through. And it's like hearing you say it and watching, listening to the passion in your voice, I'm like, this is probably how we all feel that are tuning in right now, that we've learned this thing, we've overcome it, and everybody has to learn about how,
Yeah.
like, you have to stop everyone from suffering from what you just suffered through.
Right.
The second thing that you talked about, which is what I want to talk about in our conversation, is how you just so seamlessly are able to pivot from one idea to the next idea. So, like you were talking about natural hair care and your challenges that you were going through with natural hair. And then just like many of us, we've reached a pinnacle in our careers. So it's not just natural hair. Maybe you're a 9 to 5er, or maybe you've reached the height of your education, your degrees, or whatever job that you're at, and you're just ready for that next thing. But I've always just admired your ability to be able to pivot so easily and successfully. How are you? I mean, you said it so beautifully. You're like, God has ordained and ordered every one of my steps, but I feel like God is ordering my steps and I still be confused. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I just want to know, like, how have you been able to do that? How have you been able to pivot so seamlessly? Like, I'm watching you now, you're on your healthy journey, but like you said, you were a teacher, then you went to natural hair, then you went to teaching courses about how to blog and how to do content, and then from there, and then you develop communities, and from there you're just like, I'm on my health kick, and you don't even consider it. You're just like, you do it. So how please,
Yeah.
the secrets,
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
to God be the glory. I
Well,
don't think
the
there's
one
enough for that.
constant, the one constant in life is change, right? Like that is the one constant in life. And my old pastor from CCC in Brooklyn,
Mhm.
Pastor A.R. Bernard,
I
he
used
would
to go
say
there.
this. Yeah, he would say this all the time. He's like, the one constant in life is change. And as humans, we desire change. We evolve from season to season and we are changing ourselves. And I would say to not be afraid of that change is what has really helped me. I embrace the change. It's another way to put it. It's actually a better way to put it. I embrace the change. I don't have a problem with letting something go that's no longer serving me to make room and open myself up for the new thing. And also, when you're passionate and excited about something, and then that passion and excitement starts to wane, it becomes torture to continue working in the way that you were once working. So that also makes it a little easy, you with your wealth of knowledge and decades upon decades of experience as a hairstylist, If you ever just stopped loving it, just imagine every day having to wake up and still doing it. You just would be like, I can't, I'm not even in this anymore. I don't love it. And whatever that is for you, that day, when that day comes, you will know it, you will feel it. So even though I was embodying the role of a content creator, it still existed for me, just like it does for anyone else. I just couldn't see myself making another video about a natural hair twist out. I was just like, how many times are you guys gonna see me do this? I don't desire it. My life doesn't really work like that, work in this way anymore. Um, there's things that are changing for me. And as I started to realize that things were changing for me and my passion isn't in it anymore because I'm no longer excited about this topic, I start to rationalize what else is there. Because if I'm tired of talking about twist outs, that must mean that the audience that kind of grew up with me, maybe they don't even need to hear about twist outs anymore. Maybe that's not where they are anymore. What are they currently experiencing? What do they need? How can I continue to serve them? And a lot of brands do this. They don't just shut down and close. They start to innovate and make new products and offer new services to meet people where they're at. So we all have to evolve. But when you're doing it by yourself and you're an entrepreneur, you might not have the ability to just create a whole new division in business because it's just you. So I was not able to continue to maintain those videos about that topic, but could I make videos about something else? And the answer was yes. I realized that I was now a mom. And so because my time was limited due to this new journey I'm on of motherhood, that must mean that my audience is probably moms too, right?
Mhm.
And I was listening to the questions that they were asking me about my daughter's hair. And I was like, maybe it's time for me to start making videos about her hair, but I didn't want it to live on my channel because I wanted it to be a place for adults, for the grown and sexy. So I created a channel for her, and then that allowed me to still use the creative juices that I had, have a creative outlet with making videos, but I was able to do that with my baby. Once she grew up and we weren't able to do that anymore, but we did that for many, many years, from the time my daughter was an infant to about 4 or 5 years old before she went to school. We were able to get that content. So now that's a library of content. And because YouTube is YouTube, it lives on.
Mhm.
Um, from there, embracing that there might be something new. And the fact that I was really good at making YouTube channels, I had done it, it was proven, it was tried and proven. And then I was doing really good on social media. Once again, tried and proven. I've done it multiple times. I thought it would be a great idea to start teaching people. But I didn't just jump in like both feet first, like, okay, we just gonna switch. I take my time, I think it through, I come up with a plan, I start talking about it with my community, I start finding out if there's a market for this. And when I feel like I'm ready, I'll do it. Um, I also have to be willing to accept that starting over means you're a beginner. I have to be willing to accept that starting over means there's going to be a large subset of the community that I've already established that is not going to be interested in this because they were here for the hair. And then the
Mhm.
other group of people, they're here for the little baby hair. Now you're talking about social media and they don't have an interest in that. So there's going to be a large portion of my community that's not going to be rocking with me anymore because that's not what they're interested in. And I had to be willing to accept that. And just this understanding of, hey, sometimes we outgrow things. Don't be afraid of change, embracing the change, and understanding that you got to start over. You got to be a student all over again, but carrying with me all of the years of experience that I already know how to do a lot of these things. I'm just starting over with building. It just allowed me to be able to make these transitions every single time I've needed to. It's made it not so hard. And then my experience with monetizing and what that needs to look like has also been something that I've taken with me from space to space, because in the beginning I wasn't monetizing. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing it for fun. So now I'm in a position where I know how to bring my monetization strategies with me. I know how to market. I know how to strategic plan. And I know that there's a new audience out there waiting for me. They just haven't found me yet, or I haven't found them yet. And that's okay. I'm willing to put in the work.
Yeah. And, every time you speak, I just hear like another key point. And one
Yeah.
thing I heard was that, at least how I'm interpreting it, is overall, and this is why now, um, there's always a catchphrase or like a trending thing, name or title or
Yeah.
position. So like influencer,
Yeah.
content creator, thought leader, or whatever. We're entering into a space where people don't necessarily want to be called influencers. Now we're entering into the expert and um, thought leader space, and also personal brand. That's a
Mhm.
buzzword, buzzword, buzzword. And it's almost like, I'm not going to go into that, but anyway, but personal brand, um, is what you've been able to master. That's what I'm
Yeah.
hearing, because although you were talking about natural hair, you were still Jenell.
Yeah.
Although you were talking about your courses, I'm still Jenell. Although I'm talking about wellness, I'm still Jenell. Strategic partnership or planning, you're
Yeah.
still always yourself. So that just shows really the power of leveraging your personal brand all the way through. And I think with the creative professionals and service providers that are in my community, especially within a certain age range, we were taught to niche down and really and and hone your craft and your specialty. We're gifted. We have the skill, the art with our hands, and we provide the service. And it's never been about us. As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
in my industry, all black, and it was for a reason. It Of course it looks chic, it looks trendy, but we have been programmed to be in the background. We've been
Yeah.
programmed to be in the background. A lot of us love to be. I love the background. I ain't gonna lie. You see me forward facing, but I love the background just as much. And I said all that to say a long way of saying that I just listening to your story again, it reminds me that there's so much power in leveraging your personal brand. And I've come full circle to realize that, oh, I've been able to leverage my personal brand. And here's how. I may not have been able to just do it on my Instagram page, but because I was bubbling up inside, like what you were saying in your intro, I had to create outlets. So I had to have several personal pages to get it out, to get it
Yeah.
out, because it just had to. It's like you almost feel like you're going to explode, right? So I had to have several personal pages in order to get that out. And then I had my so-called professional page where it was all about my skill, my art, and my craft. So I just thank you so much for sharing that, because
Mhm.
retelling your story and your journey, they say hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
We're able to really connect the dots. Like, hey, Jenell has just been always Jenell. That's how that's part of that seamless transition. And you listen. And let me tell you, I'm guilty of not listening. I'm just going to be transparent. We're in a safe space. Like, I'm guilty of not listening. Especially if you're in the position, like you said, like, if I have to do another twist out, baby, and your audience is saying more twist outs, you
Yeah.
kind of turn the deaf ear or the blind eye or whatever that saying
Mhm.
is. But with all that being said, in your intro, I just want to go back to one point. You were talking about coming back to help others. So what really inspires you to want to help other to come back and help other people?
That's a great question. I the part of me that wants to say, like, it's always just been who I am. I feel like it's just one of those gifts that God has given me. Um, because I can't really pinpoint a reason other than I just feel like I have to. Like, I just feel like I have to. I think back to my childhood. I was always that friend that was putting together experiences, like curating things. Um, where are we gonna go? Who's gonna come? This is when we're gonna meet up. And it was like little kid things too. Like, we're gonna meet up at the park and this is what we're gonna do. And I've always been that way. And of course, as an adult, that has matured. And what that looked like for me began to mature. Before I was even on social media, I was that friend that would, if it was your birthday party, I'm planning all the things so that we can have a great birthday party. Or in college, I remember planning the trip so that I could go to Miami with my girlfriends. And then the next year we went, I was like, everybody needs to know about this trip. I got to tell everybody so we could go next year. We could go even deeper. We gonna roll up in there in Miami. Like that was me all the time. I remember hosting wine and wings parties in my living room and inviting everybody to come and have wings and wine and let's try these things out. Like it's always been me. And I love helping people like learn new things, experience new things. I'm the girl who writes the longest reviews whenever someone writes a review and giving people feedback. If you ask me for recommendations, I'm going to give you so many things. You're going to be like, whoa, okay, I don't even need to look on Yelp or Google. I know exactly where I'm going because Jenell has made these places sound so amazing. So the part of me that I would say from just younger, only thing I can think of is that it's my gift is to curate and bring people along and pass on that legacy. And then I would say that coupled with I just know how hard it is when you don't know what you don't know and feeling like, well, I've never really loved my hair and I'm seeing these women talk about their hair on YouTube. I'm feeling inspired like, "Oh, wait, I think I want to do this." And
Mhm.
then doing it, being so excited about it and just knowing about how much hate I had around my own hair and beauty. It was always permed and fried and chopped up and messed up and damaged to like I'm like, no, if this is what it could feel like to be in my own black skin every day,
Mhm.
like I gotta let more black women know that's not it. Like, sis, there's another side of this thing that we just don't know about. And so once I had done that, then it was like we need spaces because we're doing our hair together on YouTube and we're getting more confident about it. But then the world that we have around us, they're not supportive. The husbands, the boyfriends, the mamas, the sisters, the cousins, the
Bosses.
bosses, right? They're not supportive. So I was like, okay, so how we fix that problem? And that's when I started creating my event. My first one was Dinner with Girlfriends. And before Dinner with Girlfriends, it was just literally like, let's meet up for lunch at Chipotle. For those of you that don't know my story, I would host these little meetup events. And there was a website, and it still exists today called meetup.com. And I would just meet up with people at local Chipotles and other little eateries. And it would be exclusively for natural hair people. It was named after my website, Kinky Curly Coily Me. It was a natural hair group. And then I started hosting actual events and working with brands and inviting people to speak. And then I was able to take it on tour. But the whole thing was rooted in I need to create safe spaces for Black women to realize that they're not alone. And you can talk about your products and being a product junkie. You could talk about your hair and your texture, and you could get real feedback. You could be celebrated. You could make friends. And that's what I wanted to do. And so I'm always looking to see if I can answer or solve a problem. How can I do that? Like, how can I do that? And it's just in me. If I have the resources, if I can find a way, and if the passion is there, of course, because I wasn't solving all the problems. But if it's there, it's something I want to do. So I'm gonna say it's my gift because I'm still doing it now. As like you said with the wellness, I could have just lost my weight in peace. But I was like, no, I got to tell people, I got to help people. Something about accountability, community, support, providing resources to help women lose weight has worked. It worked for me. And I want to create those spaces for them. And now it's working for the women in my community who every 3 months they commit to losing weight and they're exceeding their goals and they're changing their lives and they're becoming more confident and they're extending their lifespan. And once again, like it's all just rooted into how can I help people? And outside of my social life, outside of my work life, I do this in my church. I lead in my church, the young adult ministry. I do this with my children. My daughter's in soccer. I decided I'm gonna be the parent coordinator because what's going on with the team isn't working for many of us. And this team won't be around unless someone steps up to like fix this problem. So I stepped up to fix that problem. And no matter what it is, my son wasn't doing too well in school. We got to solve that problem. How are we going to do that? Like, that's just how it is
A
for
natural problem
anything.
solver.
Yeah, natural problem solver, curator, and I just love community. I love being around people. I love my people, especially because I have been very specific about who I want to help, and that's who I target.
You know, I was going to ask you to jump right into the actual content part, but the conversation, I knew this was going to happen. I knew it. I knew I'm like, this conversation is going to be too juicy to just keep it all about business.
I know.
I want to jump into the content stuff, but you talked about loving to be around people and loving
Mhm.
community. Does that mean that you're an extrovert? Do you consider yourself
Yeah, I
an extrovert?
definitely consider myself an extrovert. I really, really am. I really feel energized when I am around people. I'm human though. I get tired and I want to be by myself.
Y'all
Yeah,
go
and
away.
yeah, and I'm also a mom, so there's a part of motherhood and what that requires of you all the time that that I've now acquired, like wanting to be alone in solitude with quiet. And but that comes from being a mom. That doesn't come from my innate personality. If I could have it my way, I would be with people all the time. And I think that that's how we're supposed to be. Never alone and with people. We thrive as communities when we have people flourishing and helping and doing their part. So yeah, I'm definitely an extrovert. If y'all can't tell, I'm definitely an extrovert.
I just had to ask because sometimes people assume that I'm an extrovert because
Yeah.
I'm so forward facing and I could
Yeah.
be so friendly. But there are times where I'm in environments where it comes a little bit more natural. But most of the time, believe it or not, it is very, very challenging. So we're going to jump into the content part of this conversation, and it kind of segues perfectly into this topic. And it's, what advice do you have for creative pros that shy away from social media? And I specifically use the word shy away again because creative professionals, we've been programmed in a way to be in the background for so long, and now we need social media in order to market our business effectively. Yes, there are other ways to do it, but this is like the easiest, most
Yeah.
effective way to do it. So being that you're an extrovert, obviously there are going to be some things that are more easy and natural for you and things you want. You actually desire it.
Right.
But being an extrovert, an artist, creative professional, and some service providers that tend to go in the background, what advice do you have for those that are shying away from social media?
Yeah, I would say let your work do the talking for you.
Mm.
I have worked with creative professionals that do not want to be in the forefront, just as you've stated. And so that's where you let your work do the talking for you. Um, Social media, especially Instagram, used to be this place where if you really didn't show your face, then it was kind of like nobody would see your content. But all of the professionals that are using social media as a marketing medium and a marketing channel now, they've changed that. So
Mm.
you can showcase the work that you've done. You can showcase the services that you've offer. You can showcase the results or the feedback from customers you've had. You can do all of that now as your main type of content. So I'll use an example. I have some clients right now in the beauty and medical aesthetics industry. And so while, they may not want to be talking like in a video like how we're talking now, they treat patients on a regular basis. So they'll record the video of them doing the treatments to be used on their social media platforms. So now potential patients and existing patients get the experience of what it's like to be treated by you. They can see you working, they can see what your patients look like. If you share your before and after results, they get to see those results. They get to really have that buy-in, like, okay, now I can really trust what this person is doing because I get to see what they've done. The proof is in the pudding, right? And if you're not doing great work and your results don't show that, they'll be able to see it. Showcasing testimonials is a great way because now you're giving true, real feedback from real patients or clients or customers. So that is one of the best ways you can do it. Let the work that you do speak for itself. And whatever industry you're in, if you're in beauty, if you're in fashion, if you're in stationery, if you're in tech, if you're in food, hospitality, like whatever it is, whatever I've missed, I would encourage you to do some research, right? This is where you start jumping in to be your own marketing team. And before anybody in marketing, I myself actually work in marketing now. I'm a director in marketing for a startup company. This is a new business venture, Stacey. Or
Wow.
yeah, a
Okay.
new career change, Stacey. Sometimes when you do something really good, people will come looking for you
Oh
because they're
man.
like, we
That's
need
that's
people.
I'm gonna take that as a prophecy, baby.
Yes, and you know, you've actually been sought out after many times, so you already know, right? They be in the DMs. But in marketing, when you're looking to get your brand out there, you've got to do that research. Like, what are other people doing, right? Now, back in the day, if you did that, they'd be like, oh, she's copying me, right? She's biting. Why you biting my style, right? We didn't think that that was cool at all to do what someone else was doing. However, as we've matured and we've gotten more exposure to the inner workings of business, you know, social media has been such a great thing because we get exposure now to so many things that we didn't have exposure to before, and people openly share their marketing operations like freely. But my point is research others in your industry. Feel free to call them competitors, feel free to call them inspiration, feel free to call them people that are like my colleagues in the space, people who are doing what I want to do, whatever you want to call them, and see how they market their business. You'd be surprised to see that a lot of people might not necessarily be the front face of the, you know, the social page, even though they're there. They show up and they communicate with their audiences, but not as much as you expect or you might have in your head, especially if you look at influencers that are front and center in all of their content because they are their business. So they have to be, right? But when you don't have to be your business, you can still establish a personal brand from the perspective of being the CEO of the company that you have, being the person that provides that service or offers that product. And you can still continue to make your work or your services, your products, the driving force in your content, which makes sense in that case because if you sell something and all I see is you,
Mhm.
that's not what you want to be doing versus I need to see your product anyway. So that would be my advice is let your work speak for you. I will just offer one more thing. You cannot not be present in your brand anymore. There very few brands that are coming up brand new can do that.
That's what I
Um,
was gonna get to. That's what I was gonna get to next. So I'm glad that
yeah,
you're speaking on that.
yeah. Many, very few brands that are starting out can do that. Brands that are already existing, right? Like whatever store you shop at, like we don't know who's the CEO of Mac, or at least I don't. I'm wearing Mac foundation and I don't know who the CEO is, and it doesn't matter, right? Like they're an established brand, they're already existing. I don't need to see the CEO of Target on Target for me to decide that I'm going to go there. That's different. For those of us who are coming up brand new, your personal branding actually helps you to build a community around you. So you now can become, you and your product can now become the center of like your ecosystem, and you have your e-commerce site where people purchase your product and they buy your services. And obviously you have your customers, they're a part of this ecosystem. But then there's you, where people are getting to know you, and that buy-in around you, who you are, your personal brand story, your CEO story, your business mission. Those are things that help you connect to your customer. And as they connect to you, they feel like they have a part of the story. Like they've watched you build this brand, they're invested in it. And that's the power in not just putting out your product and not talking about it, or putting out your product and just talking about it and not talking about yourself and bringing some of you to the forefront. So I just wanted to add that you can't really shy away from that anymore, but it's to your advantage to get comfortable with it. And the more you start doing it, the easier it will get. It may not, and may never feel like something you want to do every day, and that's okay, but it will become easier over time.
Yeah, I know that with me and with the strategies that I'll be teaching in my upcoming course in January, Activate Your Brand. um, I never considered myself like a branding expert or marketing expert, but we were talking about this off camera, how hindsight is 2020. I'm like, I've been able to partner with over 5 major global beauty brands, and that's no small, feat,
Not at all.
as an educator and a brand ambassador. And looking back, I realized that there were a few things that helped to contribute to that success. And one of them, in a sense, is being forward facing, even when I was uncomfortable being forward facing. So even when I had the program of being in the background, I would show my work, but I found that to position yourself as, let's say, an educator or a brand ambassador, do brands want to hear you? They want to hear your voice. They want to see that, don't they want to see that you can talk about their product also? So
Yeah.
I'm always a little bit torn on that because, again, being introverted by nature, and a lot of creative professionals are, you can hide behind that really easy. Just your art, but make your work. That's the thing. Our work has been at the forefront. But do you think that they can be marketed as a brand ambassador or product influencer without speaking directly? I know you're saying you have to be present, but can they make it without talking to camera?
So there is a space where this does exist, but the truth is that that's not really what people are looking for. So if it depends on your goal. If
Mhm.
your goal is to be in a place where you are attracting customers and clients and whatnot, they need to know you, they need to like you, they need to trust you. So they need to see you and they need to be able to hear from you. But depending on the industry, like you said, your work is the one that does the talking, you might not have to. So in
Mhm.
that case, if you're looking to become a brand ambassador and to partner with companies, then unless you have a huge following where they're just going to use that as their marketing strategy, it's going to be, you can write the caption. We don't actually need to hear you talking. And we just want product placement, use it, show it. Then that can work. And that's why I say it really depends. But most people are not going to be starting with that. They're going to have to be working. And that is going to mean speaking, talking, educating, and putting yourself out there. But I don't want to pretend that in the world of social media, you must do that in order to be successful, because the truth is that there is a lane for people that do not speak at all. And there is a lane for people that just do a lot of product placement and their speaking is done in their caption. There is a lane for people who just have a different way of doing it, and that may or may not work for you. But I don't want you to think like you must. It's just very unlikely in this day and age, starting off brand new, starting off from scratch, that you're going to be able to start without doing that. That is just very unlikely going to be the path for many of us getting started today.
I'm glad that we kind of agree, kind of agree on that.
Yeah.
There's more than one way to get it done.
Mhm.
There's more effective ways, but you
Mhm.
can definitely find something that's going to work for you. I do have a question about messaging.
Okay.
So you're building your personal brand online, and you've been able to, like I said, be able to use that so that you can seamlessly go from topic to topic to topic because it's just you, Jenell. How important is it for messaging to be clear with your messaging? So we know that you're an artist and you provide this service. Is there a disconnect that could happen with the messaging?
Well, I would say when it comes to messaging, you always wanna make sure that you're adding value. And when people talk about things on social media, especially when you're going from using social media as a consumer to now being a creator of content to promote your brand, to build your business, you have to start thinking with that head, that mindset. I'm not consuming content where I'm just used to reading what people say. Now I am the one that's making content for people to consume. And so your messaging now has to be attracting in nature to a potential customer. It needs to be clear in what it is you're trying to get out of it. I see a lot of professionals will talk about their service or product, and they don't even realize that it comes across as extremely salesy because they're not communicating to real people on a social media platform. It's almost like it's just directly an ad. This is the thing. These are the features. Buy now, right?
Mhm.
Um, and social media, we can't forget that we do need to be social. So a very charismatic, um, I don't wanna say it has I was gonna say laid back, but I don't wanna say that it has you can't come across as professional because you can, but laid back in the sense of that it's easy to read, it's easy to digest, it's easy for someone to take away what it is that you're serving when you give them this information, and
What I
then
mean, I'm also thinking about, it's like this question is popping into my mind for
Mhm.
somebody um, that is saying, I'm starting to get the hang of social media, but there's so many different strategies out there. People are saying you need to have a mission, you need to be for something, against something, you need to be informational, you need to be entertaining, you need to be tell your personal story and be vulnerable and sell a product. So I think that there's a confusion. And I hear what you're saying about messaging. You're absolutely correct. You have to make that transition from being the consumer to the producer, essentially solving a problem. But I find that I can feel that confusion, even for myself, to a certain extent, a few years ago, with being in alignment with your message across platforms, whether it be in person, website, social media. How important is it to be clear on your mission, your vision, your values, what I stand for? Then I got to teach you something. Then I got to be funny. Then I also got to be entertaining, and I got to sell you a product. So I was just thinking in terms of how that is confusing to people with having a solid message, especially if you're trying to attract a certain kind of clientele. So you want, let's say, high-end clientele, but your language may be one way, or you're trying to attract a younger audience, an older audience, but so I'm thinking messaging that whole thing could be a bit confusing. Maybe you can offer some clarity on how they can speak in their own voice, but attract the people that they really want to attract.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to all of the different ways that you can get your message out there, um, you can do some of all of that at the same time. So don't look at it as disjointed, right? You can you can attract the audience you want while also be entertaining, and you can be entertaining while also be educational if those are things that you desire. If you feel like entertainment isn't something that you're here for, you don't have to be entertaining. You can be educational. Um but yeah, there is going to be some learning that people are going to have to do, because if you're thinking about attracting a certain type of person but you don't know how to attract that person, that's where the studying comes in. And I know a lot of people that go into business and we don't have marketing backgrounds. I don't even have a marketing background. And I've been able to do all of this, but you have to do a lot of listening, and you have to do a lot of planning, and you have to do a lot of research. And this isn't something that you do overnight. It's just you get into the content and you start thinking through, what are the concerns that I'm trying to address? Who are the people that I'm speaking to, and how would I talk to them about these concerns? And the style is, it's going to be the style. Every book you read, every movie you watch, every show you watch, every song you listen to isn't doing all the same things at the same time. There's a time and place for it. There's a season for these things. So I wouldn't get too caught up in all of that, but definitely be mindful of who you're talking to and speak to them in the way that you think they would best be responding to it. I hope that answers it. I think so.
No, it does. It does. It does. Because I get the DMs, I get the questions, and sometimes I'm just like, I give things from my perspective and my own experience. But you've had so much more experience, not only for yourself, but from your previous students. They all come to you with various forms
Yeah.
of the same challenge. So I'm just wondering. And then you're getting so much outside influence from gurus, leaders, and experts. But at the end of the day, it's just finding your authentic voice
Yeah.
and being able to, help people to be able to connect with that. I find that that's also the challenge, wanting to attract, it's like a little resistance here. You want to attract high-end clientele because you want the money, but those are not necessarily your people that you fit in with.
Yeah.
So again, you have to make a commitment to learn this audience and then kind of stay in character. But to me, that's exhausting. I've tried to do that. I've tried to stay in character in order to stay connecting with the audience. But at the end of the day, I just think, you know what, be you, find your people, or your people. Do you think your people, what do you think about that? Like your people will come.
Well, I don't think that they will just come. You have to let them know you're there. But your people will, the people who are supposed to be, you're making your product or service for, they will find you. If you're making content and putting yourself out there, doing the things you need to do, they will find you. People that are not going to be for you, and don't need you, don't need your service, don't need your product, they're not going to be the ones that come. And sometimes people do end up picking up an audience or a demographic that they didn't realize. Could be messaging, could be timing, could be positioning in the market. There's a lot of factors that are not just based off of one social post. That's for sure.
Yeah. I know you used to have a community called
Content Confident.
Content Confident,
Yes.
where you helped your ladies or guys to
Yeah.
become more confident with creating content for social media or for their businesses. What would you say is one of the biggest tips that you can give my girlies for building their content in 2024 and 2024?
Yeah. Biggest tip would be plan. It was the number one issue that my entire community struggled with. And it was like so simple of a idea when they would join my community, that the thing that everyone was missing, it was the planning. And it's because for a lot of people, many of you, you don't think social media is work, but it is. And because of that mindset that like it's not really work, it's always kind of like an afterthought. Like, I have an idea, let me go post that. And then they start to go post it. And then they start to realize, oh, this is work. I can't do it really quick. I don't know what image I want to use, or I need a video, especially now that reels are really popular and TikToks are popular. What kind of caption should I put with this? They don't know. They had no plan. And as a result, the post never got up, right? Because they never could commit to the time that it was going to take them to do it, never plan a time to come back to it to finish it. And so it just never went up. And in business, if you were to treat your business like that, if you were not to set up a schedule for your clients or patients to come in, How would that work? If you didn't plan what it was that you needed for your inventory, your materials, what tools you need, how would you get any work done? And so, for that reason, when we started off with the Content Confident community, the first thing was teaching the community how to plan. Immediately set up a schedule. What days are you going to work on your social media? And I use the word work because it's work. What days? What hours?
I
Put it
love
in
that
your
you said that.
calendar. Yeah, put it in your calendar because you've got to find the time for it. If you want to really grow this business, if you really see this business being something that you are going to build and grow and have a legacy, you've got to invest the time in it. And then for those professionals that I was working with that didn't have content kind of or couldn't create content built into their day, some professionals can make content while they're working, but there's others that they're not in fields where there's someone coming in that they can just record or whatever. There's no result in the same way, especially product professionals, product businesses. They would have to actually curate this content. So like the photo shoot, the video shoot, not meaning that they have to necessarily hire someone, but even if you're doing it yourself, you need equipment, you need tools, you need the time to set it up so you could get that done because it takes work. Now, the people who grumbled and complained, we were able to work through a lot of that, but it takes time to get people's mentality into a place where they don't see social media as a pastime. When you're a consumer, it is
Mm,
very much a pastime because
yes.
we're just taking in content. We're swiping and scrolling and we're just taking it all in, laughing till we cry, sharing DMs, sharing it in a DM,
Yes, girl.
leaving a comment, putting it in our stories, saving it for later. Like that's how we operate on social media as a consumer. And when I would ask them, how much time do you spend doing that? I'm sure you dedicate time doing that
Yeah.
daily. And
Without
if you
without thinking.
without thinking, and if you want to say, "Oh, I don't do it every day." Okay, but I mean, if we really wanted to get honest, we could pull up the records because the phones, especially the
Woo,
iPhones,
that screen time
yeah,
is
it
a lot
shows.
of people in prison.
It was not prison, honey. But yeah, like if we really wanted to make for real, like, you know, it's giving, I have time, but I'm not trying to give it to what I'm supposed to give it to,
Let
right?
me tell you, I'm so guilty. I have to confess, I can't stay quiet anymore. But when Jenell actually, our relationship has evolved into so many roles, but we were colleagues and then friends, and then she became my coach. And when Jenell was my coach, one of the things that was like my holy water on it, like my Achilles heel, she would always say, um, content calendar. And that word was just like, I would feel like I was turning into something every single time I heard that word. And to this day, I have to giggle. This is 3 years later from that conversation. And I still giggle when I think about how I felt about a content calendar. Because again, for my creative professionals, we are a vibe, a whole vibe. We just want to be in the element. We want to be inspired to post. We want to tell a story. And if we're not feeling it, we just don't want to share it. So I just had to confess again, we're in a safe space that, listen, I can relate, totally relate, because I felt like I've been on that constant content hamster wheel, having to
Mhm.
produce. It's all fun when you're feeling it, when you're inspired. But
Right.
when you transition from consumer to producer, like what Jenell is saying, it is an actual job. So here's the funny little conflict in that. I teach that once you become an entrepreneur, you need to have a leadership mentality, right?
Yes.
So you have to start thinking like a leader, like a boss, like an entrepreneur. You're not supposed to think like an employee anymore. It's a whole shift because ain't nobody's going to do it for you.
Nobody.
However, comma, when you're thinking about marketing your business, you kind of almost have to shift into an employee mindset, but not for somebody else. It's almost like this is now your job. The way
Mhm.
you would clock in from 9 to 5, 8 to 4, or whatever, you have to schedule your work day. And it was just a few months ago that I started to follow a thought leader, Brendan Burchard. He wrote a book called The Millionaire Messenger. And it was one of those things that caused me to have like this aha moment where he called it a thought leader career. And it was something about putting the word career at the
Mm.
end of thought leader. I'm like, yeah, people say, oh, you're a motivational speaker. You could be a motivational speaker. You can be a social media influencer, a content creator. But it
Right.
was something about putting the word career at the end of it made the whole thing more serious. It
Yeah.
made me feel like, oh my goodness, yes, there actually has to be a structure on this. So social
Yeah.
media, we kiki, we laugh, like you said, laugh till you cry or whatever, but that's still a consumer mindset. So
Yeah.
just like with the going from employee to having your own business, you have to switch to this leadership mindset, this entrepreneur mindset. And now you got to switch to a mindset of a producer over a consumer, and that starts with thinking of it as work and a career.
Yeah. And the truth is, Stacey, is that every business does this. Like, even before social media existed, businesses had to put in the work, right? And you may remember from back in the day, you probably were coming up with your own marketing materials. What flyers are we going to print out? What cards are we going to pass out in the community? What local businesses can we go to and drop in our business cards? Where can we go to get more people to know about our business? What exposés can I join and be a part of and set up a table or have a booth? How many people can I reach out to asking for referrals? What are some of the
Why did the hard work seem easier?
It wasn't easier.
For some
That was
reason,
harder.
harder. It was harder, but for some reason, it just seems so
It's because
like
we don't have to.
mathematical. It just
Right, we
seems
don't have to do that now, but imagine if we all just had to start doing that. If social media shut down and the only way you could sell your course was in some physical manual way. Like, just imagine, and I want all of y'all to think about that. If we did not have the digital world that we had anymore, you would have to do the work. You wouldn't be able to meet as many people. You would not have the exposure to people from all different communities, states, even regions, countries now, right? Like, we wouldn't have that. Our businesses grew slower. Our financial and revenue opportunities were smaller. Year on year growth was not increasing by the huge percentages that people are able to do now. And you had to be able to do these things in real time, in person. You had to physically take your butt somewhere to get these things done. And now we can sit in our home literally like this, and y'all complaining like on your couch, in your bed, like this.
it sounds so silly to think about, like everything is easier and you have a further reach and it's still a problem. I
Still a
know.
problem.
It's an adjustment. I think also in a certain age bracket, but a little off topic. I've been working on something a little off topic, and we jump back on topic real quick. But you have mastered the inside voice. Like, how can I? Can you help me a little bit? I feel like
What do
I'm.
you mean? What do you
You've just been
mean?
keeping it nice and steady, and I have not mastered the inside voice. I don't know if it's because I speak from stages, but baby, I feel like I'm always yelling. I'm hype. I feel like I'm
You're so
always hype.
funny.
All right,
You're so
let me
funny.
I know. Let me
You
reset.
could get headphones. I have headphones. They're like, I see them right here.
Okay,
When I would record my podcast, I would wear my headphones. That way I would hear myself in my inner ear.
right.
And obviously when you scream, like, it's really loud in your inner ear. So
Yeah,
that could be it, because I've been podcasting for a very, very, very long time.
yeah. I got
And so, yeah, but the excitement is it's good though. It's
Yeah,
good.
it's good, but I just feel I'm
Yeah.
like, I wanna all right, let's just reset and let me
Mhm.
get my little radio voice going, baby. And I wanna chill out like Jenell B Stewart here. So we're gonna just mellow it on down. Okay. All right. So are you using AI in your business?
Yes, I am. So, first and foremost, for those of you who have not thought about different ways to use oh, sorry, Alexa is going off at my house. I don't know if you can hear my son.
No.
Okay, good, because he was just yelling. So if for those of you who have not thought about how to properly use AI in your business, I'm going to share with you some really great ways that you can do it, especially to help you with social media. So, first and foremost, another problem that I uh, tried to solve, I didn't get to solve it on the grand scale that I wanted to, but I did try to solve this within my community was writing captions. A lot of professionals find that what to write in their caption is just what I don't know. Like they just get very confused. They're like, I'm over this. Like, ask somebody else to do it. Ask somebody else to do it. So you can use AI to write your captions. When you're using AI, there's lots of different places you can go. I use the AI Open Chat. Let me see what this is called. I
Is it
use
the
Chat
ChatGPT?
GPT. Yeah, I use Chat GPT. If you have a Canva account, which many people do have Canva now, especially those of you who are making your own designs, they have their Magic Studio, and there's a form of AI in there. You can get AI on your phone. Chat GPT has an app. And those are the two that I use, but some of you may have been exposed to more. So excuse me. What you could do is, just be really clear on what it is. Talk to Chat GPT, and when I say talk, I mean type it, but type to Chat GPT in a way that you might like talk to yourself about what you want to do, or maybe it might be helpful to say talk to someone else. So what I mean is talk to yourself like I want to write an Instagram post telling everybody about my new course that's launching in January called such and such. I want everyone to know these three important things about it, or take out the word important. I want people to know these three things about my course. And I'm trying to talk to this type of person. And you can literally type that I'm talking to this type of person. And I really want them to feel my excitement. Or you could say, I want it to sound like I'm very excited.
Mhm.
And I want to encourage them to purchase my course. I want them to go to the link in my bio. I want them to purchase it between this time and this time. And so, like, I'm just being very conversational. Like, this is what I
Right.
want. These are all the things that I want. And literally type it like that. Like, don't be too in your head about how it has to be written, and just hit, submit, right? And then just see what Chat GPT does. And when you read it, you're going to probably love a lot of it, and you're probably not going to love as much of it as it's going to be there, because it's not you, it's not your voice. So you can keep it as is and then kind of tweak some things. Or you
Mhm.
could say, you can actually reply back to Chat GPT. I keep wanting to say her, because I actually call Chat GPT my girl, because me and her be working together. She is my
That's
VA. So
they
I'm
know
actually going to,
they said it's your smart best friend.
girl.
It's your they had some kind of nickname for it. Chat GPT is like your smart best friend or something like that.
Yeah.
So you are right. You can call if it was you can call it a guy, a girl, but it's your
Yeah.
smart bestie.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say she. So now that we've addressed that, when you hear me say she, I'm talking about ChatGPT,
Right,
okay?
right.
So you can tell her, thanks, that was great, but I would like to add this and this. Or I'd be like, thanks, that was good, but it's too long. Make it shorter. Like I say that, or I'll say something else like, this particular point wasn't something I really want to go into. Can you rewrite it, taking it out? Like I just kind of play around with it, like being very conversational. And then
Mhm.
as you do it, you're gonna find that
No way.
you're going to learn how to like really shorten what you're trying to get to. But your
Mhm.
captions is a good one. If you really like a caption that she wrote for you, you could say, write me a few more or 3 more, 5 more, whatever. So that's going to be one way you can absolutely use Chat GPT. And you can have your archive of captions ready for you when you need them. So now you just got to worry more so about the visual. The second way you could use Chat GPT is for those of you who haven't done email marketing or you just not really consistent with it. Allow Chat GPT to help you with your email marketing campaign. One of the things that I did talk about in Content Confident, which is the program that we were talking about earlier, I used to have this saying. I used to say, what are we all doing this for? Like, for what? Why are you on social
No
media trying to
way.
grow to like 10? Why are you trying to grow to 5K, 10K? Like, for what? We
Mhm.
are not 16-year-old teenagers looking for clout. We're businesswomen. We're trying to
Mhm.
make that money. We're trying to get the bag.
Yes.
So if you are only thinking about the follower count, you are missing the mark. You're missing a huge segment of what marketing your business means. And I say this to you and I share that story with you because growing on social media is one part of your marketing, but building your email list so that when you have your products and services and people that are already purchasing and or considering purchasing, you have another medium that you can directly communicate with them, unlike social media, which plays algorithm games.
Mm.
Okay. So with that being said, ChatGPT can support you by writing your full email for you, like the full thing. The same way we had that conversation about the Instagram post, have that chat with her about what it is you're trying to do. Communicate that it's an email, so it will be written in email format. It will even give you the subject for your email. And now you can have multiple emails and just be creative with what it is you're asking for, and it will help you with that. So that's the second way. If you're kind of struggling with ideas of like what to post on social, what kind of conversations can you have on your live, on your podcast, on your YouTube, you can ask Chat GPT for these kinds of ideas. And those are some really fun ways that you can use Chat GPT. Now, the other way that I've used AI, which is just it's very quick, I haven't used it that much, was with editing a photo. So this can be great for those of you who are looking into like design a little bit, but you're not all the way there. I had one of my clients give me a photo that had a lot of messiness going on in the background.
Mhm.
And in Canva, they have a brush tool that you can kind of like remove the background. But
Mhm.
in this case, removing the background would have just not worked because the picture would have looked very weird to
Yeah,
just have
distorted.
removed
Yeah.
everything in the background. It wasn't going to work for social media. So in Canva, their AI tool will generate something for you in the place of whatever it is you're trying to remove. So just so
Mhm.
you could understand this image, it was 2 people on the floor playing with the baby.
Okay.
But in the background, there was a chair with a bunch of stuff on it. There was and the chair had a bunch of stuff under it. So it
Mhm.
was just not giving the vibe of the professional page that they
Right.
had. But they wanted to focus on how they're a family oriented business, that the workers were watching one of their staff's babies while she was working with the client. They were trying to showcase that, but we
Mhm.
didn't want people to be all distracted by the junk in the background.
Right.
So I used the remover tool, and in Canva, I said, they ask you what you want to replace it with. So it was an office room, just dirty, cluttered. So I
Mhm.
said some chairs. I literally wrote chairs. And
Mhm.
then not Chat GPT, the AI tool
Yeah.
gave me a few different renditions of chairs in this office space.
Wow.
And I was like, yo, son,
No, no, seriously. Seriously. I just wondered why it took so long to try this thing. So I know how you're feeling.
Yeah. So if you have some stuff going on in your picture, like if for those of you who have pictures and you're like, oh, it's messed up. And I know this to be true. Like a lot of people get in their head about the visuals. I know it. Y'all overthinkers, y'all perfectionists.
No,
Oh,
but
this
we're
don't look
creatives. Remember, my girlies are creative professionals. So this is our thing: hair,
yeah.
makeup, wardrobe, fashion,
Yes.
photography. So we are like,
It got to be on
one thing
point,
is
right?
off. If one thing is off, it's not
Yes.
going.
Right. So now that picture doesn't have to be trash or
Mhm.
it doesn't have to prevent you from using it. Now it's going to take some extra steps, right? We already talked about it. Y'all could be in y'all bed doing it just like this,
Yeah,
right? Or maybe you even have a laptop. Most of us have laptops. You could be right in your bed, in your couch, wherever, on a train, driving in the passenger seat, on a plane, wherever, you can do this at the same time. But if you're just like, oh, I got to figure out which picture, I don't know which one I want, and you allow that task that you wanted to be a quick 5 seconds, 10 seconds, if you allow that to be the issue because you refuse to commit the time by making it a planned time so that you could just be in the right headspace, then you're going to continuously fall into that. Then you can't even use the AI tool. Because I know people that have access to it and still they're like, oh, yeah, I heard about that. I know I could do it. Why
yeah.
haven't you done it yet? Oh, I just don't have the time. It's always going to be another reason. So that's how you could use AI. Back to the original question.
Yes, yes. That's crazy because I was again, I was, like I said in the beginning, not anti social media, anti tech, but when
Mhm.
AI came on the scene, well, first of all, it's been here for years and years. I'm just talking about this sudden burst that we had earlier this year. I sometimes protect myself from trends, and sometimes that can come to my detriment because
Yeah.
it wasn't just Chat GPT, then it was the Google AI, then it was
Yeah.
the this AI, and it was the every company that been hiding AI or ready to
Oh, they
launch,
didn't have access to it.
they all did it at the same exact time. So that really just turned me off. I'm just like, you know what? It's overwhelming. 12 emails in the same week about a company adding AI to their
It's so interesting that that's how you felt when you got those emails. That's such
it
an interesting take. Like for me, it was more so like, oh, these platforms or software or brands are finding ways to incorporate AI in services and that I'm using to make my work easier for me. That's
is.
how I saw like, oh, okay, now it's going to be easier to use this thing. It's going to be easier to use that thing.
You
I
see,
didn't see it from the same perspective as,
I'm
oh my
glad
God,
you
this is
shared that.
overwhelming.
I'm glad
Yeah.
you shared that because I've been praying about that, and not that specifically, but it's a little off topic. But Facebook Memories popped up something on my timeline,
Mhm.
and ironically, weirdly, it was the same exact thing I was
Mm.
doing the year before. Like I don't remember what it was. It might have been drinking a smoothie. I was wearing the same sweater.
Oh.
And normally that's something I would laugh at and smile. Oh, that's cute. Look at me, say a year ago, whatever. But in this particular example, I was just thinking to myself, I must be thinking the same exact way I was thinking last year. It just
Mm.
triggered something because you're trying to grow and improve
Yeah.
as a person, as a business, and it didn't have a positive effect on me. I was just saying, man, I must still be thinking the same way. So that just triggered a thought when you said, it's funny you should think that way because
Mm.
how I thought. So it just gave me a window. Just by you saying that gave me a window into my perspective versus yours, and it actually makes me want to um, dig in a little bit
Yeah.
deeper. That you thought, wow, here's a tool to make my life easier, and I'm like, here's a tool to add more overwhelm to my situation.
Yeah, no, girl.
I think I'm just a little bit triggered by that, only because that's how the waves come on in the media, whether it was Bitcoin or what was that wearable, the art thing. Um, People were buying this intellectual property. It was like in the form of art.
Oh,
Anyway,
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, but
When people were selling their, like, tokens, right?
yeah, what was that called?
I know the word, but
But
for whatever reason.
for whatever, yeah, but for whatever it is, that's how it comes in. It just comes in a wave.
Mhm.
Everybody's on it and it
Yeah.
dies down. It comes in a wave. Everybody's on it. It dies down. So
Mhm.
when the AI came, I wasn't even receptive to it because it felt like
Right.
another one of those things that everybody's going to get crazy over and it's
Mhm.
just going to end up going away. But
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you said it's funny you said that because by you
Mhm.
sharing that, it opened me up to there's another perspective here. And I've been praying about that because I've been asking for wisdom to think like, hey, I want to be able to scale my business. I want to be able to have multiple businesses and ideas. But what is stopping me from getting here to here? It's something I don't know, right? So it's a thought. So, and perspective. People who are successful and able to evolve and grow their business think in a way. And anyway, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I totally get it, and
I'm going
I
down
think
that, you know
I
what I
think
mean?
that tangent that we just went on, or that I wouldn't even say tangent, truly, the value that you just added is you allowed someone who's currently not open to some new ideas, maybe even like what we're talking about now. You've
Yeah,
allowed them to see that even right here, this is what you were feeling and thinking.
yeah,
And now you're being more open-minded, and it could give them that little sliver to say, let me try something new. So I think that was important.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Because, like I said, it's just the thing that you don't know. And it's just that wisdom that takes you, because, it's so polarizing, this world. There's
Yeah.
the really, really poor, and then there's the really, really rich. It's just like, what are you thinking? And what are you thinking? How
Yeah.
come we want this thing so bad and we just can't have it? It's because we can't think it. We don't
Yeah.
have the wisdom to make the
Yeah.
correct decisions, simple
Right.
decisions with budgeting or spending or behavioral habits that we're just unable to know what to decide. That's what I
Yeah.
realized. It's what do we decide in that moment? It's really the thing that's stopping us from getting to that next level. So
But
that
that's
just
why we need to continue to surround ourselves with resources and people that can expose us to it, right?
right.
And as you just said that part, like not having the knowledge, I think to myself, I don't think that innately when I going back to the email, you getting all the emails and feeling overwhelmed, I'm thinking to myself, was that an innate feeling or was that with the exposure? And I
Mhm.
am trying to believe now, like as I'm sitting with it for a little bit and hearing you say that, I think because I am involved in a space, in that tech space, in that social media marketing space. And because I surround myself with resources like YouTube videos, as well as like podcasts, I follow other creators. I think I had an openness to this being something being spread and evolving and to other platforms, because
Mhm.
I was getting the insight about it that I, as a regular everyday person, hearing that, I wouldn't have really truly understood.
Mhm.
And if my feed is filled with all of these new things that are happening on a regular basis in the world that I'm in, and someone else's feed, let's say, is filled with, TMZ, spiritual world, right? If your feed is filled with that, and when you open up your YouTube, it's like drama stuff, the gossip and all that, then you are missing out on the world where there's a whole bunch of things. Because while I'm like getting all this new information, like, oh my God, I can use ChatGPT to write my emails. Do you know how much time I spend on emails? Or people who are afraid of it, and now I'm hearing, hey, you can use it for your emails. Then the next platform that I'm using, like a podcast, I remember having to pay someone on Fiverr to annotate my podcast, right?
Mhm.
I can my podcast service offered AI to do that, to do the transcription. Now I
Right.
could save money. Then the next person was like, "Oh, we got ChatGPT." Canva was like, "We got ChatGPT and Canva." I'm like, "Oh, so now I don't have to pay an editor?" Like
Mhm.
I'm hearing saving money. I'm
Yeah.
hearing saving time. But if you're listening to World Star, World Star, TMZ, Spiritual World,
Yeah.
like that's where your energy's at. now you're not getting the same messaging that I'm getting. And so we're being fed different things. And
Yeah.
so, you're on high alert for the things that are happening in the world, the people who are going to come take advantage of you, the things that are going to come taking advantage of you, being harmed, because that's the stuff that's being fed. Meanwhile, I'm open to all this possibility and to all these options and
Yeah.
trial and error and usage, and it's just different. So we have to put ourselves in spaces like the girlies that are listening to this podcast. They're being filled with something that no one in their outside world is probably giving them, and advice that anyone else is giving them. But through you and what you're doing with this platform, now they're being exposed to new things, new opportunities, and their world is being opened by that. So they have to continue to tune into this, the other things you're doing, and other people in the industry that they're in, to help them continue to be open to receive, even if they don't do it, right? Even if they don't ever take advantage of it, knowing that it's out there because someone else might need that thing. So I just thought about that. Like, why was I a little bit more receptive? Could it be from that?
Exposure.
Yeah.
Exposure. Mm-hmm. Environment, exposure. And that's how it is when you want to see a change in your life and you want to see a change in your business. The fastest way to do that is by changing your environment and
Yes.
changing what you're exposed to. However, and even with me, again, I have to keep sharing my personal stories. Sometimes it's not easy to change your environment. And sometimes it's easier to change what you're exposed to, like on social media. But if you're in an environment and you're exposed to certain things, sometimes you have to create it. Sometimes you have to step outside of it.
Yeah.
And that part is also a challenge. And that's something I'm experiencing now, actually. Stepping into this thought leader career, like I said, I was being exposed to, it's like, okay, so to be considered a thought leader, now I need to get my thoughts out there. How do I do that? I have to have long form content. I have to have a blog. I have to have a podcast, or I have to have or a long form video. Now I got to learn how to do that. I'm just new to everything, and I have to be able to do emails. I have to be able to do social media. I have to be able to be around, and nobody around me is doing this, and at least not doing it consistently. Somebody might be doing one thing here, one thing here, one thing there. So I now, just to share a tip of how I'm overcoming this is, first of all, do not underestimate the power of coaching. I was fortunate to start with Jenell a couple of years ago. And after that, it makes you realize, because we have this kind of strong woman, superwoman complex at times where you just want to do it on your own. You just feel like I could handle it. Just give me one more day, give me one more month, give me one more year. And then here you go with your Facebook memory a year later, and you're still in the same space. That's not, like, as you get older, it stings. It stings to be in the same place in the next year. When you're younger, you're like, all right, another year passed or whatever. But as you get older, though, just running around in circles, it's a waste of time. It's not a good use of time. So I would say I had to get coaching. Secondly, I wasn't able to change my environment, so I had to pay to be in a new environment. So I had to, I'm the introverted person, but now I had to put myself in support groups. I had to put myself in groups with entrepreneurs. I had to pay to be in that group. I had to now go on YouTube and find that thought leader, or find the person in my space. And it's important to find the person who's living the life or has the business that you aspire to have, not just random people. So I said a lot to say that this is the stage I'm in also. So having you here on the show, it's just very valuable to me. And just like you said earlier, you just bursting with all this information because you just feel yourself overcoming an obstacle, and you just can't help but to want to share it. And that's really why I was like, I have to have Jenell. Jenell, can you do it? Can you do it? Can you do it? Can you do it? Because I just know that going into 2024, if this is an obstacle for me, and I am paying to be in groups, I am paying to be coached, I am living on social media. I'm reading books. I'm listening to podcasts and I'm applying what I'm learning. And it's
Mhm.
still a challenge to me. What about my
Mhm.
girlies who are just like the room is spinning because
Mhm.
they're wearing multiple hats? So I'm so glad that you were able to come and pour into my Girl Activate community here today. I feel like I can talk to you for another hour or two about everything in life. I just want to be respectful of your time. I had a few more questions, but I'm sure that you wouldn't mind coming back to the show maybe in
No,
another
I don't
week.
mind. I don't mind at all.
So
I'd love to come back.
we can set something up. But today was so good, and you're such an amazing guest. I just knew it. I just visualized that this is how it would be because I love just conversational because so many gems come out and it's not just me asking you questions. It's a conversation. We're teaming up. We're doing intervention.
Yep.
We're helping somebody. It's like a person, that
Yeah.
needs to hear this. And it's me sometimes. I'm the one who needs to hear it. So I'm just so happy that the girlies who are struggling with the social media, with their brand presence, with their personal brand online, that I am 100% sure that there was something in here that they can take away that they're going to feel more, even if it's just talking with your inside voice.
Oh, I know there's gonna be so much that they could take away.
That they could take away in 2024. But is there anything that you'd like to impart on the Girl Activate community before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I just want y'all to be confident in knowing that you can do this. You can do this. And the best way to remind yourself you can do it is to affirm yourself on a regular basis because it gets scary. Even when you have people doing things with you, it gets scary for people who have hired help. Like that can be scary. Like, I don't even know if I can do this for myself. How can I do it for others? So affirm yourself, journal, listen to positive podcasts like this one, read books that help you to grow in your business mindset, in your positive mindset. You want to make sure that you're being fully fulfilled in this new journey that you're going in so you can wake up every day, even if you're a little nervous. Being nervous doesn't mean that you're not confident about what you're doing. We all get nervous. Like that's not the absence of confidence, right? It's just how it is when you're starting something new. You can be afraid to take that first step because it's unknown, and that's fine. But what helps you to build your confidence is first really truly affirming yourself, telling yourself you could do it, learning what you need to learn. You don't always have to struggle through everything. Stacey also shared that she's gotten a coach. She has a course coming out. People have written books on this. People talk about these things freely online to a certain extent. A lot of the really nitty-gritty stuff is going to be behind a paywall, so you're going to have to pay for some things.
Yeah.
But learning and working through things is how you build that confidence. You don't just sit there in the mirror saying, I can do it, I could do it. And now every day, everything's peachy. You got to actually apply, learn. When you make some mistakes, there's a learning opportunity on the other end, on the other side of that. So just be confident, know you can do this, and take the steps you need to take in order to achieve the goals you need to achieve. But do not at all do not start. Do not start. You must start.
Thank you so much for that. And I know that you are moving into more wellness for yourself and your community around eating right and losing weight and everything like that. And you have a new challenge or another session, another round of your
Yeah, another
challenge
round.
coming up.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I know it's might seem a kind of like left from what we've been talking about, but in addition to all of the stuff that I have been doing in the like social community space, the content space, the coaching space, I kind of always maintained this healthy Jenell wellness brand. And that was another one of my one of my times where I wanted to share what I was doing and trying to encourage women. And while there may be a lot of people talking about wellness on social media already, there's like millions of pages. I wanted to be able to be an authentic voice for my community of people who don't always get it right. And at first, I didn't realize that that was what it was going to become. I was just sharing my weight loss after having my baby, my postpartum weight loss journey. But then after gaining some of the weight back, I was transparent about that and continue to work towards losing the weight again. And to be honest, since I started that page back in like 2014, I've gained, I've lost the weight and then gained it back several times. And each time it was for some new reason. But by being transparent, which is what we've been doing here today and what we've talked about today, and Stacey, you are the epitome of transparency because you will point at every little thing out that you didn't necessarily do well, and you're not afraid of that. You live in that. But by being transparent, I've been able to connect with women and say, "Hey, this is my fifth time too. How many times has it been for you?" And we can find community in knowing, "Damn, you've gained and lost that many times." Yes, girl, and I'm back again. But by coming back each time, I'm proving that you don't have to give up. Like you can get back into it and you can work at it again and again and again. And our health deserves that. Our health deserves us not quitting. We deserve not quitting on ourselves. So, my Healthy Jenell platform has been around for a long time. It's my name, Jenell, like you see it here, but with healthy in front of it. Um, you can follow me on Instagram. And it's funny because my Instagram page for Healthy Jenell actually has gone further than my Jenell B Stewart because the community of people that need this wellness information has grown. But to Stacey's point, I do have a challenge coming up called the Winter Wellness Challenge. And every season, literally winter, spring, and summer and fall, every season for the last 2 years, I have hosted 75-day challenges with a commitment to working out, eating better, and losing weight. I offer accountability. I offer food guides. I offer exercise guides. I offer community. And I also offer cash prizes as an incentive. The very next challenge is starting on January 1st, 2024. And we're going for 75 days. So March 15th is the last day. The last day to sign up for this challenge is December 28th. So as we're recording live right now, it's December 19th. So you have a little under 10 days, 9 days exactly to join us. And if for whatever reason now is not the right time for you, we'll be back for the spring. So you can just follow me on my Healthy Jenell Instagram. So it's different than my Jenell B Stewart. It is a secondary page. But you can follow me there, and maybe spring will be the right time for you. Maybe summer will be the right time for you, or maybe the fall, whenever it is. Maybe just seeing me do my exercises and talk about my weight loss, that might motivate you or spark you, and you might not even need my challenge. But if you've been thinking about it and you're like, girl, this is exactly what I've needed because I was waiting to get started in the new year. I was already trying to get that done. I do offer some savings when you sign up with a friend because I want you to do this not alone. We do provide community so you won't be alone, but there are people that are nervous about coming into a space, even though it's not in real life, it's not in person. There are people that are nervous about coming into these spaces alone because it still feels like I'm the new person here. And there are a lot of people that do return and they've lost a significant amount of weight. I have a few people from this year, at the beginning of the year, they're now on their fourth one and they've lost like 40 pounds, 50 pounds from the beginning. So I want you to come and join me if that's something that you're interested in, or share this link with someone that you may know that might need this. And I look forward to connecting with you, whether it be on Jenell B Stewart or on Healthy Jenell, or just in the comments of this podcast episode. Thank you, Stacey, for this opportunity for sure.
Thank you so much. And I don't think it was left field from what we were talking about at all, because
Okay.
I know, because that's how we started the conversation, being able to
Pivot. That's right.
And you have been able to just do that so well. And just by following you, like if somebody were to go right now to your page, the everything we're talking about is right there. How
Yeah.
you've been able to successfully go from YouTube to go to Instagram to
Yeah.
do multiple accounts there. We're not talking about little fly by night accounts. So when you're talking about Healthy Jenell, it's just
Yeah.
another account and another topic and another life experience that you've been able to pivot, go through the challenge yourself, and
Mhm.
be able to teach people what you've done to get through it. And the girlies like me are scared to even pivot from one thing to the other. So this is very important.
Yeah.
This is very important. I mean, topic wise, it may seem left field, but in terms of approaching how we approach social media, our personal brand, how we approach topics, how we can just pivot
Yeah.
confidently, and you just been a great example of that. So I really appreciate that. I do have some announcements myself. um First of all, like I mentioned earlier, we have the Activate Your Brand, Mastering Your Digital Identity. I'll be sharing the steps that I use to partner with over 5 major beauty brands over the last 9 years. I'm going to be sharing my formula and my step by step and how I was able to do that. I shared some of that here today. If you missed it, go on and catch that replay,
Yep.
baby. That's launching the first week in January. I also have a free guide, a free checklist, social media checklist, 10 tips to communicating your personal brand online. If you go to my website right now, stacyciceron.com, you can click that link and that PDF will be sent right to your inbox. And lastly, Girl Activate is coming back. Our conference is coming back. I'm going to talk to Jenell off camera about being able to be a part of this event in the spring because it's right here on Long Island. So we just have to see if our schedules don't conflict during that time because the girlies would love to have you. I would love to have you.
Yeah,
So
my
we
spring's open now, so let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Oh, definitely. So Activate Your Brand launching in January. We're just doing some last minute touch ups with my founding members. The free 10 tips to communicating your personal brand online PDF on my website, and the Girl Activate conference coming this spring. Oh, and the natural hair workshop coming back to Uniondale in February. So make sure you stay tuned to my social media page. And if you're already signed up to my emails, no further action is required. I want to thank you so much, Jenell, again for being a guest and pouring into our Girl Activate community. Girlies, if your pen and paper, your pencil and paper weren't lighting on fire, or if your notes are not going crazy on your phone, I don't know. You must be losing it. You need to use this as a reference. Go back and rewatch it. I'm going to go back and rewatch it because I know for a fact there's some valuable gems that I want to step it up in 2024 because this is going to be our year. All right. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. Ciao.
Yes. If you guys made it to the end of this video, especially in the replay, go
Yes.
down there and drop that gem emoji so we know you made it to the end.
Yes.
Light up the comments with the gem emoji so we know you
Amazing.
made it to the end.
Thank you for that, Jenell. Hold on.